Welcome everybody to the 3rd of August 2026 extraordinary meeting of the Culture Committee. There's no public comments that I'm aware of, unless Jenny is that Jenny Snell?
It is. Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. I've got nothing to say.
Just need to confirm it was you, Jenny. Thanks very much. So no public comments. Apologies for absence. Consider the reasons given.
Yes, I have Carl Gill, who has conflicting engagement, Councillor Jane Lowry, also conflicting engagement, and Councillor Wes Reed, a conflicting engagement.
Thank you. Right, declarations of interest. Members to declare any interest, including disposable pecuniary interests they may have in agenda items that are called with the requirements of the Town Council's Code of Conduct, and to consider any requests from members for dispensations in accord with the Localism Act. Anybody out there got any conflicts of interest for this one? No? Okay. Three items on the agenda tonight. And the first one is the discussion of the motion. At its meeting held on 30th June 2026, it was resolved to refer this motion to both the Property and Community Committee, we have done earlier this evening, and the Culture Committee, as elements of the motion were relevant to both committees. In addition, it was resolved that paragraph 1, the Yeovil Town Council therefore resolves the section highlighted below or in yellow to be removed, noting that the council leader had already discussed the matter with Somerset Council. And it is recommended that this committee consider the elements of the motion relevant to this committee, which I believe are bullets 3 and 4 of the motion. Okay. Tara.
We'll have this one now.
Yes.
Yeah. Thoughts and views and questions.
Yeah, Graham.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just wanted to check, and I'm nervous slightly of the bits referring to the events officer's role. We have an events officer, and I'm very pleased we have an events officer. Are we asking them to do what's already in their job description? And if so, can we just not move on? Is this would this be adding new items to the events officer's role that at the moment is not envisaged she would do?
Yes, because at the moment, sorry, Tam doesn't manage the events in the Triangle, so that will be an additional part of her role. Although Tam does manage events, she's not actually managing or dealing with the event booking and programming of the area.
Because nobody does.
Nobody does at the council, so that's
again. My point is that if this was an existing visa land over Town Council, this would fall under a role. I'm not being pedantic. I think actually it's how much you direct an officer in a motion is questionable. I don't disagree with it. I just think that if that's not going to happen, you know, when you have to sometimes if you say something that's so obvious. There's a reason why you shouldn't say it. And that's this case, in my view, that we're now in a really strong position. We have an excellent events officer. And everybody knows, including the events officer, that if we decide to go ahead with this is our job. So why is it in the motion? Or is it just, once again, bureaucracy gone mad? Are you French, sir? Is it? Next question.
Tara.
It's in the motion because it's an expansion, as Amanda said. You know, this is an area we don't do. I would suggest to get round what you suggested is that we reword that to Yeovil Town Council support the management program, so we're not identifying a single one.
That's far more appropriate.
Okay.
I just come in there. We do also need to think about to what extent we will be managing and putting on additional events, because that could require additional resource. We only have one events officer. And depending on what the calendar or programme of events is that we're going to be running there, in addition to the additional work that our events officer has picked up that we haven't been doing prior, there could be a capacity issue. So you could be seeing a request for additional support in order for that to happen. So we have a team rather than just one individual.
I think the previous meeting considered that and agreed that in two about staffing requirements, etc. So again,
I just wanted to
highlight
Again,
the issue
yes.
and to make the point you might need more.
I've got Gareth and then Tony.
I don't need to.
Okay, Tony.
I'm tending to agree with Graham on this one. An event is an event, irrespective of where it's put on in the town. If it's not our land, you negotiate whether you can put it on there. And the event is the event, and that's it. It's so I just want to register that. We do kind of agree with Graham. I don't think it needs to be sorry.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Tony. Anyone else? Wow, you going to the vote then? Okay,
Are you moving it first?
I'll move to the vote, yeah.
And I'll second it,
Aaron.
so that you don't have to worry about it.
Just to read out that
Yeah.
revised
Yeah.
wording for
Yeah.
number 3, to assess how the Yeovil Town Council could support the management programme and promotion of these facilities. Blah, blah, blah.
You need to read out the amended item 1 as well, because that was at the previous meeting.
And also in due course to formally write to Somerset Council to progress the transfer of management responsibility for those bullet pointed there.
Okay, we've got a proposer and a seconder. Those in favour? That's it. Do I?
Yeah. That's everybody, yeah.
Forgot, yeah. That's it. Okay, thank you for that. Moving on now to item 11/243, recruitment of development and impact officer. To members of to consider the report of the Director of Culture as attached to pages 77 to 13.
Okay, so this is being recommended to you by the staffing committee to agree to support the recruitment of this post. And it outlines in the report what the benefits of that post is. Essentially, it's to assist with finding grants and additional fundraising to help not only the culture department, but also to assist the environment and leisure and any other directorate that may require some assisting with grant funding. Bid writing is a very specialist activity, and also you would need someone skilled in doing it. So this person will be looking out for particular grants to see whether we have an activity or an asset which could benefit from grants that are written forward. In terms of the alternative ways that we could do this, we have some sums of £40 to £52.50 an hour for external consultants. And if you look at the figures that are given there, you're looking at £25 per hour for if Yeovil Town Council decide to recruit for this role, and that includes the on costs, which are the pension costs and the employer's national insurance rates as well. Happy to answer any questions.
I actually think this role is really important. I will not do sport because I don't feel that what's been delivered gives the justification for it. I believe there is justification for it, but I don't believe without a business case, without a single page or something else, I can say that I've scrutinised it enough to clearly agree with this role. Like I said, that's not to say like that. For me, so I won't be spoken.
Okay. Adrian. As
Are there any other committee members that want to speak?
Sorry, yeah, I missed you, Graham.
Adrian can go next.
Okay.
Very relaxed.
Go on then.
So I feel that what's been presented to us doesn't provide, as Councillor Casey's just mentioned, justification for the role. Now, I'm not going to argue whether or not there is a kind of a qualitative assessment on this, but the role doesn't say, for example, how much funding is currently missed. It doesn't give us any indication of the value of any proposed successful bids. It talks about the officer or the potential new employee would essentially deliver the targets towards it, and it doesn't tell us what those targets are. And so I've just got to raise that point that whilst, I think I'm already there, I just feel again, I feel this report does not provide the justification in terms of any kind of outlined business case other than a qualitative assessment of we need another bum on a seat.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. This is one of those situations where when you have an extensive, comprehensive discussion of an issue at a working party as a committee, as happened, then when it comes to this committee, the report is doesn't have the depth of that discussion. And I can assure people the staffing committee considered it very thoroughly. There were more than one view on whether this should go ahead, and certainly one of the concerns expressed was around performance. How do we know this will work? The issue about what grants were missing, all of them is the answer, because we're not applying for grants. We're missing money, and the only issue I think we as a council choice that we have is whether we have an in-house person doing it or whether we pay for consultants to do it. But we do need to bring in more funds, and there are significant amounts of funds, both from whether it be the government or whether it be from charitable bodies, as we're very much aware, those of us say with the Octagon Project or others, or Handhill Visit Centre as an example. So in a sense, what I'm saying is that that it has been thoroughly drilled into. We spent a long time discussing one role. Probably value terms, one has to question whether it was worth that amount of discussion for a role that's going to cost a small amount of money. But we did, and we thoroughly considered it. And there are other staffing people here who can confirm that it was not just nodded through. The chief exec was given a reasonably robust questioning.
Ashley.
Sorry, most of what I've heard,
Yeah.
I agree with. I don't think we can justify paying for it. I've done a bit of research on claiming different grants for various things, different venues, and not hard. Doesn't need putting together, or what's done that. But at the same time, I don't think that we warrant having an officer directly over that particular head of cover. So I would assume that we're not as set really on that basis to go forward on this particular question. So I would vote against it.
Before we go to Andy, Amanda.
So it may be easy to do, and you may not see the justification in it, but the problem is we have no one to do it. So it's not just a case of having another bum on the seat. It's somebody who has the skills in order to find this funding. And bid writing, when you're looking at ACE and you're looking at the National Lottery, it has to be very specific and very particular, and it is a skill in itself, writing grants. So I do think you've underplayed that slightly, if I can come back.
It's not hard to find grants. It's just putting someone in the seat to finalise the process. So if we're saying we've got to employ somebody specific to do that task, what else will they do? Not quite sure what you mean.
Can I come back in there? So this has been taken into consideration, which is why it is only a 3-day post. 1 day of that will be reimbursed by Somerset Council because they would be doing some work with the Arts Engagement and Outreach Service through the ACE NPO. And I think it's really important to highlight that ACE NPO opens the gateway to more grants than anyone could get, because they'd be made aware of it. The issue we have is that we don't have anyone that's looking out for these grants, so that's big opportunities lost by this council. And when we do if we did find the opportunities, we have no one to put together those bids.
Final point. There's a lot of discussion, it's been said, it's been discussed very much in the staffing committee. Do you think it's about time we had notes from the staffing committee or committee members on these sort of subjects? Because to me, you've had that discussion, we haven't, because I'm not on that. I think it would be better to feed back to us so we can understand a little bit ahead of time what range you've covered exactly, so we can actually have a better value.
Yeah.
So if I can add, the staffing committee have agreed the terms of reference that those minutes are at the moment confidential and are only for the eyes of the people that sit on the staffing committee, and that is something the staffing committee have agreed.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. Over to Andy.
So a couple of points. Staffing committee, this was discussed as Graham has said, in great detail. The purpose of the staffing committee was to discuss that it is confidential. The recommendation from the staffing committee was to proceed with this. That's why that's come to this committee. That's the recommendation from that committee. When things are easy to do, yeah, they are. But I mean, I'm not a plumber, so if I wanted a plumber, I ain't going to employ a bloody painter.
Exactly.
And if we don't go and look for these, my apologies for that word there. Yeah, no, the other word. And if we don't go and look for these bids, they'll just slip out and they go by the by. That's why we need somebody specific to go and look at this. There are huge amounts of grants out there. We need to take full advantage for that for our community. That's why we're wanting to do this. It's for the community. Nothing else, not vanity projects, not this, it's not that, it's for the community. Those grants will benefit the community.
Adrian. I've got.
Thank you, Chair. Just to pick up on a point that Councillor Oakes made about the fact that this has been dug into some depth at the staffing committee. I just want to raise the obvious point that the purpose of the staffing committee is to make that recommendation. Yet there are people on this committee that have not seen sight of that detail. Therefore, you've got to ask the obvious question around how that works, because if there is lots of detail around the value for money that this job role brings in, I'm sure that no one would object.
Okay. It was Tony. Yeah, I
don't mind waiting, you know.
Brilliant.
I'm going to say that I was on the staff committee. I was at this meeting, and I heard the presentation given and the justification done by the officer, and that was the officer, you know, who looks after all the arts and everything for this authority. Did a very good presentation, and I thought it was justified. And there are opportunities which we felt, I think this is safe to say for the other member, that if we didn't take this opportunity and we miss out, that is more of a detriment to the community and to the arts and the culture of this area than having everything upright and having your finger on the button. We have our staffing committee, as the officer said, with it set up with its policy, its rules, its terms of reference, and what have you. I'm afraid that has changed, that is what it is, that is democracy, and that is what it's all about. And we could talk here all night, we talked a long time about it, and the qualified person to speak about it was the director, Adam Bergen, who was here, and that is the decision and the recommendation from the staffing committee on the advice which was given to us, and believe me, he was asking questions. Unfortunately, not everyone was there at the meeting. We cannot help that, you know, that's it. That's the recommendation which has come forward from the committee. And I don't want to see this area miss out on the arts and culture by not doing something. And I say, if you do not listen to someone like Adam, who's pulled the Octagon Theatre up from its places 2 years ago and came into the area, it would not be near sort of how it is, what it was when it done. Thank you.
Okay, Jane, thanks. So we've got Rob and then Graham.
Thank you, Chair. 2 points. One is a general point about working parties and subcommittees, such as the staff committee. The reason we have working parties and staffing committees is so that they can be presented with large amounts of data to work through to make a decision for the committee. Now, if we're going to say that everything should come past the main committee, then there's no point in having the working parties and the staff committees, because that is the whole point of having staff committees or working parties, so that we can do that work to make a recommendation for the main committee. I'm very disappointed if we turn down the decision that's been made by the staff committee or working parties, because they would have done all the work to bring this forward for the committee's benefit. The second point I would like to ask, and I'll ask it the CEO, is if we do not employ someone in-house to do this work, how much would it cost for consultants to do the work for us?
So you will be looking at £40 to £52.50 an hour, but this person will have to, each time you will go out for different consultants, will have to build their knowledge up again about the council. The benefit of having an in-house person is that they already know what the council is doing. If I can add, if we go to a consultant, that will take an awful lot of Adam's time or someone else's time to keep giving them that information each time.
Sorry, Chair, can I come back?
Yeah.
So taking into account what you've just said, it would be double the wages that were for an in-house person, plus the director's time at whatever that costs on top of that. So we're probably talking treble the wages of a person that we could employ in-house.
Yeah, Graham.
Yeah, I think possibly I do come at this from a different viewpoint to some members because of my role on the Ham Hill Visitors Project and on the Octagon Project. And what I can say is in both cases, one of the reasons those projects actually, in Ham Hill's case, entirely go forward, although much money was spent by, say, Somerset developing it, that visitor centre didn't actually use Somerset Council money in the end. It was a series of charities, as well as National Heritage Lottery funding people, but a range of Somerset charities who made a difference to that project. And we're seeing the same thing with the Octagon, where things have moved on from where we originally were. I'm not going to name them, but there are organisations who may be willing to now help us now that we've reached a point where everybody's starting to realise it's going to happen. So you need to be able to assess these things. More points to make. You remember when we had the Octagon debate, and there's an awful lot of fuss about keeping the council tax down and how we'd have to work hard, and we did. And we got it so that it was actually zero. If you delay this, you miss grants. If you refuse to do it, you increase the cost. So I don't think you can actually say one thing in one place and then another in another. That doesn't work. And finally, I think that it'd be appropriate to have a named vote on this.
Sorry?
A named vote on this. Because if people don't want to vote for whatever reason, they don't want to vote for it, that's fine. but we spent ages earlier adding I's and T's to Councillor Casey's motion. I think it's appropriate that this important report, that I have total confidence in, that a name vote is had so that people can vote against openly and publicly and it's recorded, if that's what they wish to do.
Okay, Ashley.
Thank you. Just
Oh,
to,
sorry, it was Andy, wasn't it?
Don't worry.
Yeah,
Councillor Richard can go first.
okay.
Brandy.
what I would like to say is that, I have put my name forward for the staff committee, but I've been refused. So as a proportional representation from the Green Party, I've been refused to go on this committee with, the bill. I've been refused the staffing committee. I have a proper answer why I can't go on those committees.
Well, that's for another
Yeah,
another
it's
meeting. That's
It's relevant to the value of what I put forward.
Wouldn't like the
no. I
With regards to the independent.
Chair, that's not.
Chair, actually, I'm not going to allow. I'm not going to allow it because it's not to do with the agenda we're discussing tonight. It's about somebody being recruited to write bids and do other stuff. It's not about who's on what committee. Andy.
Thank you, Chair. Like I say, I'm not a member of this committee, but I will make one observation about the general running of the council and committees and working parties. That one, if you're on those and you don't turn up or you don't take part, you can't make a contribution. And it's very easy then to criticise after the event when you could have made a contribution to that debate and listen to the officer's report, etc., etc. So it's very important, really, that people won't turn up or give their apologies and actually take part in these debates and these meetings. So,
Sorry.
Yeah, I'd just like to come back and say again what I think is my Islington. However, I think Rob made a good point around the point factor versus the permanent staff. We had those figures, those details documented. This becomes a much easier scrutiny, much easier for us as a council to put forward. We have a lot of staff that's come forward. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not supporting it, not because of the moment, but because I feel the scrutiny isn't within the information I was provided, either at the staffing committee or here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Two very minor points, really. One is just to say that I think, like everyone in the room, I'm not against this at all. I'm simply raising the point that the detail that two members have just said was absolutely discussed is missing in terms of what is put in front of this committee. Don't require a response on that. And the second thing, through you, I'd like to just say to the CEO is that the position whereby if this was to, even for a limited period of time, 6 months, a year, be subcontracted, the notion that we would have to go to a different person every time is not correct. Most organisations who run these kind of organisations, an entity like ourselves essentially buy an individual for a day a week, and that individual is essentially embedded in your organisation. So just through you, just to say that the notion of having to go back and different person, that's not true. But thank you very much. No more from me.
Okay. Any more from anyone?
Okay. Yeah.
Queen.
Firstly, I'm surprised to hear that it's easy to get grants. And it doesn't take a lot to do. And I know from experience on people, you can't, oh, sorry, it's the fan. Experience with people I know, it's not, it takes time. And you need people that are there, on the ball. We lose out otherwise, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And who are going to lose out? Our community, our people, at the end of the day. So I agree with very much what has been brought forward. And I really do feel strongly, I think we do need to employ and have someone that's here, knows the town, knows the area, can work with on there. But I do take on board some of the other things which has been mentioned. But it's not an easy task. And you do need to know your knowledge and know exactly what you're talking about. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, before we go to, have we got a vote on this?
A named vote.
Okay, name vote. Before we go to a vote, I just want to say a few words myself. I make no apology for coming from a commercial background, but this council now is moving in to a different league, and we have to be prepared for all sorts of stuff. This bid writing is a specialism. Corinda said it just now. I've been involved in bids. Frankly, I can't do it. It's somebody for it's a specialist role. We're moving into a new era now at Town Council. We've got to be prepared and we've got to expand. And this requires extra pair of hands. And the person who's asked for the extra pair of hands is somebody who's very good at what he does. And also, I want to make a few comments about members saying about the lack of transparency. I think Councillor Sorton touched on it. If you show up at all the meetings, you get the information. The information also is in the public domain. So I would urge any members out there that say they feel that this town council is opaque to just simply turn up at meetings and take note of what is said and what is delivered. Councillor Wilkes?
Yeah, I'm just, thank you. I'm just obviously pointing out the obvious that if you are not a member of the staffing committee, such that certain members of this committee are not, they are not privy to that information. That was the point I've been trying to make.
I know, but my overall concern is that if we don't do this, we're going to be missing out on potential opportunities. We need to grab those. If we don't grab them, someone else will. I said at the public meeting when we discussed the Octagon, I'm fed up with people driving up to Bath and Bristol and filling their economy with money when we can have it right here in town. And one of those steps is to employ a person who knows what they're doing in this respect. And for when I trust Adam, he's been around a long time. He's done a great job on the Octagon. And when he asks for an extra pair of hands to do this, I think we should give it to him. So we're going to move to a named vote. Oh, Andy.
Thank you, Chair. I'm getting a little frustrated with some of the conversation here. Without naming names, a lot of opposition tonight has come in from they didn't hear something from the staffing committee, but they're on the staffing committee and they weren't there or didn't stay there. That's what I'm getting a little bit frustrated about because you weren't there.
No,
I am not talking about my
Councillor Wilkes.
from the staffing committee at all. That isn't what I'm saying.
Adrian.
I'm saying members.
Adrian.
It comes through.
Thank you.
Give way, Andy.
I'm just making the point that a lot of objection have come from two members tonight that are on the staffing committee, are mentioning the staffing committee as if it is some kind of secret society, which it's not. It's a confidential, for the very nature of some of the business it conducts, is a confidential committee. And it's also non-political. It's not politically balanced. That's what I'm a little bit frustrated with tonight. And I'll say no more, but I'm very frustrated with that.
Okay. We're going to go to the vote.
Yeah.
So it's a name vote. Somebody want to propose it? Okay. Seconder?
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Lott. Okay. Those in.
Okay, so I will go through.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're for, say for, against, or if you want to abstain, abstain. Howard Casey.
Against.
Emma Jane Hopkins. For. Tony Locke.
For.
Graham Oakes.
For.
Rena Parsons.
For.
Ashley Richards.
Against.
Dave Wayne.
For.
Okay, so that's 4 and 2 against. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Moving on. We now come to the exclusion of the press and the public.